Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now, this week, the watch list is fairly the same size as last week, except for we get a couple new ones. Not much has really happened. Now, looking at the put to call ratio, it's not really doing much of anything. It's just hovering around 0.70. It's not an extreme area, so it's not even worth looking at. Now, the economic calendar this week. Let's see. Monday we have Empire State Manufacturing. We got Cook speaking, but it's at 5 p.m. It's after market close, so it doesn't matter. Tuesday we have retail core sales and retail sales, and we have Bar speaking at 10 a.m. A lot of FOMC people speaking. We got Williams at 12:15. Wednesday we have not much of anything. We don't have anything. Building permits, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't do anything. Thursday we have unemployment claims. We have Jefferson at 9:05. We have Bar at 9:30. Existing home sales at 10. That's it for now on that day. Now on Friday we have Williams 8:45 and Bowman at 9 a.m. and we have Powell speaking at 11 a.m. What is he speaking at? It says he is participating in a panel discussion titled "Perspectives on Monetary Policy." It's a Thomas Labach research conference in D.C. So I'll have to keep that on radar and remember that, because that is happening on Friday at 11 a.m. Now, just because I'm giving you the economic calendar doesn't mean it doesn't change. That's why you need to look every morning. Sometimes Powell ends up speaking unannouncedly or Yellen or somebody. So you got to check it every single morning, because it does make a difference, because something could end up popping up on that. So SPY, the first thing we'll look at. We are just hovering around this 410 area. We just keep bouncing off it. Now we're starting to get a head and shoulders on the daily. Get the left, you get the head, shoulders, and we get the head, and we get the right shoulder right here. The neckline, I mean, could be the 410.50 area. You could even say the 409 area. So definitely keep an eye on that. But also, you still have an inverted head and shoulders on the weekly. You get the left, the head, and the right shoulder. That's still there. We haven't really hit 420. We haven't had that pop to get everybody in on the long side before they dump it. So maybe we get it this time. Maybe we don't. I don't know. But this 410.50 level has been a pain in the neck for the last couple weeks. Hopefully it does manage to do something this week. So I will watch it underneath 409 for a push down to, we get a gap fill right here at 407 then we get 404. Then we get the 400 area, which is right here. We get a gap fill down here at the 398. So we get some gaps to fill on the way down, but we'll keep an eye, be open-minded and think that it could pop too. So I'd watch it over 413.50 for push to the 14.50, which is where I was looking at the other day. It gets over there, we get a gap fill right here at 415, and then it's been rejecting right around the 417 area now. If I manage to get over 417 and 418, we could get probably a good little pop to 420, even 425. That will get people in on the long side before they end up dumping it. So I still think they're going to overshoot it before they end up taking it. So when you get a rounded top forming on the weekly and the head and shoulders on the daily, so a lot of people could be jumping into puts now, thinking that we're going to dump now, especially when you start seeing these well-defined patterns on the daily and the weekly. That's when they end up like faking you out. I don't like that the weekly is got a bullish setup and the daily is got a bearish setup, it's going to end up tricking and trapping people. So you just got to wait for something to happen. Otherwise, the market makers are just going to play with your money. So keep an eye on that. Keep an open mind. It could go either way. VIX, it does not like to go under 16. And when it does, it gets SPY drops and it pops a little bit. So it's back down at 17, right around 17 right now. But if SPY does pop, it can go lower than 16. It can go lower than 15. It can go down to 14. And it has gone down below 12 and 10 back several years ago. So it can go much lower. But with so many uncertainties going on in the world right now, I just don't see it going underneath 15. But never say never with SPY and the VIX, because anything can happen. You just got to keep an eye on that. But VIX gets over 18, it's probably going to pop to 28, 22, and we could end up seeing a nice. This trend line has been getting touched every so often, and we haven't touched it in a while since the March. So we could end up seeing a pop to 26 to 30 sometime soon in the next few months. What the catalyst will be, you'll have no idea. But we have banks failing. We have inflation starting to rise again after all these rate hikes. So they cannot afford to pause rates or cut rates, because inflation will rage. It's already starting to get a little worse right now. That's why the market ended up having a bad day on Thursday. Well, not a bad day, but just dropped a little bit. So, and then you have things with Taiwan, you have things with us sending troops in the Middle East again, or Iran, or whatever it was, I don't remember. But there's so much going on right now, so I just don't see VIX staying down here too long. So just have to keep an eye on that. Apple, on the other hand, is something I keep looking at. It's right at the top of the Keltner channel. It's right at the resistance right here. I did break the trend line right here, but it's got resistance right around the 175 area. And we also got a bearish divergence going on in the daily. You get the high here, making higher highs right here, but yet histogram is making lower highs. So I get quite a big bearish divergence going on the daily. But remember, divergences can go on for weeks, even months. I've been calling for like Baidu and Roku done for weeks, a couple years ago, a year ago, I don't remember when it was, a couple years ago, and it took like a couple months for it to play out. So this is just an insane run on Apple, and it's getting into a heavy resistance area, so we could end up seeing a pullback on that. So I would watch Apple underneath 171. We get a gap to fill right here, which is it did test the gap support right here at 171, and then retest this area 172.50, and it could end up now that it tested it once and it comes back down to gap resistance support, that it could end up filling the gap. So if it does break the 171, definitely look for a gap fill on Apple. BA is just still in that channel. I cannot get out of this channel, but I'd watch underneath 196 or even 197. And it does break that 197. We get some area for it to go down to obviously you get 192. Then you get kind of back out a little bit. Then you get the 192. Then you get the 190. Then you get the 185. Then you get the 180. Who knows how far that will go, but it is a huge weekly flag, but it could also keep going up. So it's still stuck in that 195 to 15 area, and it's going to get out of that zone. It's just a question of which ways they're going to go. Right now, RSI is pulling back. To me, it's holding the 20 EMA. It could just be a huge weekly flag, and it gets over 215 and just makes a major pop to 230, 240. But BA just can't seem to get any real momentum. Every time it starts to get momentum, it gets crapped on. But right here, it did the same thing. It had a huge run and can pull back. Then it had that massive pop right here. So we could end up seeing something like that. But this is probably a news event. So we'll have to see what happens with BA. Definitely keep an open mind with BA too. And definitely over 204 for push to to the 210, 215 area and below the 197 area. I said, 198. So BA, definitely keep an eye on that. It could go either way. I'm kind of leaning towards the bearish side, but the more it consolidates here, it stays above the 20 EMA on the weekly. I mean, it could definitely pop just as easily. So Disney, I know it had ER and it gapped down quite a bit, and but it has a doji candle right there, right at support at the 91 area, and buyers came in, started to push it up. So we'll have to see if it will actually recover. So I would watch it over 93, just above 93. Watch for gap resistance at 95, and if it does manage to get over 95, could go for a gap fill on that. But I love the earnings drops because they end up filling eventually. Like they end up filling the gap. We'll have to see if it actually does this week or not. Meta is still outside the weekly Keltner channel. So now that it's got some red candles on Wednesday and Friday, I do like it better now under 230 to fill the gap down to 220, even down to 215. So definitely keep an eye on Meta. Definitely looking good if it gets below that 230 level for a gap fill from earnings on that. Microsoft. Still outside the Keltner channel, still gapped up from earnings. It's kind of consolidating right here, but it's still outside the Keltner channel on the weekly. It likes to pull back into it. This may be the start of it pulling back, especially if the market dumps. I'd watch it underneath 305, and if it gets under 305, 300 be a big psychological number. Then you get gap support right here at the 294, 295 area. It likely will probably hold that, being its first attempt to test it, and maybe make it head and shoulders or inverted cup and handle or whatever, then they'll fill the gap on that. So that could be a nice play too on Microsoft. NVIDIA. NVIDIA, I think, has earnings coming up. Oh, NVIDIA. Earnings, I think, is coming up, so we'll have to see what happens with that. Still outside the Keltner channel on the weekly, so I'm still looking at it to come back in, at least get back to the 250, 240 area. So I'd watch it underneath 280 for a push down to 265, 260, 250, 240. Got some area room to drop on NVIDIA. I'll have to see if it actually does. Now Tesla. Tesla has some news with rumors, we should say rumors for now, that Elon Musk might be stepping down, or might not be the CEO. Someone might appoint a new CEO for Tesla. It's just a rumor right now. I haven't seen anything that's factual yet, but that's all it takes is rumors. We'll have to see if there's any weight behind it and it has any continuation, because we have a new CEO of Twitter. So I think people are just speculating. Maybe he just doesn't want to deal with the drama of Twitter anymore and be more focused on Tesla than Twitter. And I could see how that could definitely be something I would do too. Twitter's just a headache. You should focus on Tesla. So it's all just speculation right now. So if there is more rumors about him stepping down or stepping aside as CEO, I would watch underneath 166 for just a gap fill down here. 162, 160. Gets below 160, probably 155, then 150 being a psychological number, in which it's got some gaps to fill down here, right down to the 146 area. So definitely keep an eye on that. It's got some gaps to fill down there, and even got a couple gaps right down here at the 125 area. So him stepping down could be something huge for Tesla. So keep an eye on that. Now, if it's just a rumor and there's nothing behind it, and he's going to stay and focus on Tesla, that could be really good for Tesla. And I would watch it over 170 and over 175. Gets over 175, we could see a strong push to 180. It did kind of come close to filling that gap. What is that? That's the low is 177. The high is 177.38. It came like within 25 cents from filling the gap. So it came really, really close. So yeah, pennies is to fill the gap. So, but if he comes out saying he's not going to step down, he's going to remain CEO, and he's going to primarily focus on Tesla, I think Tesla's just going to rocket. So it's really going to depend on what is happening with Elon Musk and his focus point and stuff like that. So That's going to do it for the watch list. We're just going to take it day by day, and news over the overnight during the day is going to change a lot of the plays. So just be careful of that, and got a lot of things to watch for this week. So that's going to do it for the watch list, and thanks for watching.